Hey guys, so when I first thought up this video, the main topic was just going to be Turkish stripper clips for 8mm Mauser, but as I got to thinking about it, I decided I wanted to talk about just a little bit more. So the stripper clip's still going to be the main focus, I guess, but we're going to be talking just kind of about Turkish 8mm in general. So the story of 8mm Mauser in Turkish service started with World War I. At the beginning of the conflict, their top-of-the-line frontline infantry rifle was a Mauser rifle chambered in 7mm Mauser, but as the war progressed and they pretty much failed to properly equip any of their forces, they needed to rely on Germany, mainly Germany, more and more for war support. And one of the major things that they got from Germany as war support were rifles, infantry small arms, right? So one of the big rifles that they got, or one of the rifles that they got in large amounts, I should say, is the variations of Gewehr 1888s, chambered in 8mm Mauser. They'd also get some Gewehr 98 Mausers to help them out. And then, along with being given these rifles from Germany, they would also end up capturing rifles, which is eventually how you'd lead around to guest star the Orman Berthier carbine, and other things. They ended up capturing a bunch of Lee Enfields, both from some British adventures in Iraq and failing miserably there, all the way to Gallipoli. Of course, they left a few rifles behind. No, also, they'd end up capturing these from the Greek forces in the interwar period during occupation, stuff like that. But anyway, so they ended up getting a lot of these Mauser rifles, mainly, right? And after the war, roughly in the 1930s, they started taking stock of everything that they had. And they came up with, they had a lot more 8mm Mauser firearms than anything else. So instead of reverting back to 7mm Mauser or trying to develop something new, they just decided to standard on 8mm Mauser. They'd go through this whole update program where they took all of their Mauser rifles, and even rifles that weren't Mausers, and would convert them to 8mm and then kind of make them all look alike with different like sights and stocks and things like that. And they'd also go about making new rifles, new Mausers, chambered in 8mm Mauser. But that's not really what we're talking about. So now that you know why they have it, they would eventually adopt the 8mm Mauser, right? I don't know the specific loadings of this cartridge. However, I do know that this stuff shoots pretty hot. I don't know if that's a result of it aging or if it always just shot hot. But word of warning to anybody who finds Turkish 8mm Mauser surplus, I wouldn't go shooting it in anything A, too fancy, or B, with a weaker action. I'd definitely keep it to the strong, like, Model 98 pattern bolt-action rifles. But, yeah, that's about all I've got to say on that. I've definitely cracked some Mauser stocks from just firing 8mm Mauser ammunition. Or, sorry, Turkish-made 8mm Mauser ammunition. But, like I said, the main thing I wanted to talk about is the stripper clip itself. So, the Turkish stripper clips are like the cheapest, crappiest 8mm Mauser stripper clips you can find, in my opinion. They're made out of brass, and they're a single stamping, and in order to maintain cold on the cartridges, instead of having like a springed piece of metal in there, a secondary part of the clip, they've just got these two tabs stamped into the end that are slightly bent forward in order to put pressure on the last cartridges on either end, which is a really cheap and honestly crappy system of doing it, because even on like brand new ones, it doesn't hold them very well. As you can tell, there's a lot of flop in this clip, which, funnily enough, doesn't actually help with feeding, but it does help with random, like, cartridges on the ends or whatever flipping off, or this thing just not feeding as well. But anyway, let's strip these cartridges into one of the rifles, and then I can show you the clip on its own. Okay, so I'm going to show you feeding them into the Gewehr 1888, because it's easier to do it with this rifle. Hopefully. Yeah, it's going a lot better. Okay, rounds stripped in. Don't worry, I'll take those out so you feel later. But this is the stripper clip in and of itself, and as you can see, it's just a single stamping instead of a two-piece system like most other Mauser stripper clips are. It's made out of brass. It's got the three dimples on here for stopping it when it goes into the stripper clip channel. But yeah, it's just got these tabs on the end that are stamped out of it, and they're just meant to be bent forward to maintain pressure on the cartridge, which technically it works, but it doesn't work very well, especially if they get banged around a lot. These tabs will get bent backwards and they won't maintain hold on the cartridges. Yeah, in my opinion, they're like the worst stripper clips you can find out there, but for some reason they still go for as much money as better like European made stripper clips. Yeah, so it runs you Turkish 8mm is loaded hot. The stripper clips suck. Oh, and you get them in these bandoliers. I'm pretty sure like they would have been issued like this, but the soldiers wouldn't have actually used these bandoliers. I'm pretty sure the soldiers had like modern, well, I say modern for the time, the 1930s, load-bearing equipment of some kind, a belt with pouches or straps with pouches. But pretty sure this is just a way to issue it, similar to how you get like in the United States military when you get issued 5.56, it's in a bandolier with stripper clips and a stripper clip guide for the magazines. But you don't actually end up using that bandolier. You have pouches on your flak, and you put your magazines in there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure these hold 70. I forget the math. But you get 2 of those clips to each pouch. These are really like cheaply made, which makes sense since they're disposable. These buttons are really cheaply made, and it's kind of difficult to fidget with them to get them undone because they'll get caught on these on the sewing. Whatever, but for some reason when they exported them from Turkey, they cut the ends of these bandoliers off. I'm not sure what's up with that, but it makes it kind of difficult to tie around yourself nowadays. But yeah, you can still find this ammo available at gun shows or online. This particular one is made out of this like green or tan kind of a canvas. You can also find them in like a dark gray color. They're all Turkish. They're all the same thing. They're kind of an interesting thing to have, although I'm basically just going to hold on to this ammunition and this bandolier for forever because I'm never going to shoot this ammo out of my rifles and have more cracked stocks. Okay, well, yeah, that's it. That's my rant on the 8mm Mauser in Turkish service and how shitty their clips are, which was the whole point of this video in the beginning, but I guess we got off on a tangent, eh?